Hi, tennis players as well as tennis parents. Welcome back for another year of South Lyon Tennis. We are so excited to talk to you a little bit about this season and all that it will entail. That is both for our new players as well as for our returning players, as there have been some shifts that we want to go ahead and make you aware of. As far as this opening screen, you'll see a few money things up at the top. We'll talk more about that, but all of that stays the same from our previous years. $60 made out to South Lyon Boys Tennis for our booster fee. That covers mainly the banquet, but also contributes towards other things that help improve our facility, such as a couple years ago, we got new scorecards, which was really exciting. We use our money towards that. In addition is the pay to play, which goes to our athletic department. That's $180, and you can do that by check, or you can do that online. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But here's our major takeaway here. Our practice begins on August 9th at 8 a.m. We'll practice from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. for the first 3 weeks of practice. I'll remind you of that in just a slide or two. But that keeps us out of the heat, which is really nice. It also starts to acclimate us a little bit more to early mornings, getting us ready to go back to school. So those first 3 weeks from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. starting August 9th, we will be having our practice. And then the week leading into Labor Day, we'll be together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week. And we actually start match play that week. We have a tournament the week before for varsity. And then the week before Labor Day weekend, we have matches on Tuesday and Thursday. So on Monday and Wednesday that week, we'll shift to afternoon practices as well to get us acclimated a little bit more to the heat. But more on all of that in just a little bit. All right. A few things for you here. All players must be signed up for Remind, and I highly recommend parents do that as well. Many of you already signed up for Remind. That's how you got this video. But please double check with parents. Make sure you're hooked up on there. Make sure every single player is hooked up on there. You can get signed up for Remind either by texting the code to the number you see on the screen, or even better for me personally, I think, is to download the Remind app. It is free. It is very user-friendly. Many of your teachers will use it as well. I think it's easier than the text messaging, and it'll just ask you for a code, and it'll just be that the 3HFAF2 that you see on the screen. So again, I recommend downloading the app, but if you'd prefer just to do it through text message, you can do it there. That's our main form of communication. If there's a rain out, if there's a lineup change, it gets blasted out through that. The nice thing is I can send a blast out to everyone through that. But if you message me, then that just becomes an individual one-on-one conversation, both for players and for parents. So there is a built-in level of privacy, which is really nice. I've also included my email, if that's a little bit easier for something a little longer, pruderj@slcs.us. You're more than welcome to reach out to me there. All right. Varsity and JV, we are planning on running both teams this year. We are fortunate to have Coach Scott Sherburne returning as our JV coach, and we are hoping to make decisions by the end of the second week of practice. In truth, that may have to roll over into the third week if we have some weather run-ins. And we also had some moving around last year a little bit based on challenge matches. But I also understand that parents want to do a little bit of planning for who is where and when. And so we hope to be able to communicate a pretty clear plan of here are our varsity players, here are our JV players, and here maybe 3 or 4 players max who are kind of on that cusp, who sometimes we might have to pull for varsity, sometimes we'll be playing with JV. We are hoping to be able to have some pretty clear ideas of that by the end of the second week or early into the third week. And that way, when we go to our varsity tournament in Pinckney after our third week, we have a pretty clear idea of who's playing where, at least as a starting point. Last but not least, important dates. Paperwork drop-offs next week. Yes, of course, you can bring all of your paperwork on the first day of practice, but that causes me a pretty big headache. And so I'm going to be up at the school Monday and Thursday of next week for some paperwork drop-offs. I'm going to be in the building on Monday working with our new English teacher, which I'm really excited about. And so I'm going to get there early on Monday and be available from 9 to 9:45 a.m. And then I'll be out at the tennis courts 2 to 3 p.m. on Monday, hoping that many of you will be able to drop off your paperwork during those times. I'll also be at the school at some point on Thursday. The exact time, I promise I'll let you know through Remind. It will be sometime early afternoon. I could see kind of like a noon to 1 or noon to 2, something like that. But I need to finalize a few things. So I will get that out to you hopefully by the end of this week. The exact time I'll be there on Thursday. But if you can drop off that paperwork early, that is a huge help to me. That means when you show up on August 9th, I'm ready for you. I've got a court ready for you. You can walk right out. We don't need to worry about a thing. If you can drop off some paperwork ahead of time, that would be huge. If you can't, consider scanning those and sending those to me. I'll still ask you to bring physical hard copies on August 9th, but sending those ahead of time means I can have you all checked off and I can just grab a folder from you and say, get on out there, and I can worry about it later. So that's kind of our big picture stuff as far as some paperwork drop-offs. So I hope to see you next week up at the courts, either Monday, August 2nd, or Thursday, August 5th. Exact time to be announced for that Thursday. What paperwork do you need this year? All right. Everything needs to be submitted by the end of week 1, but by the first day of practice, I need your physical and your consent. You cannot practice without that. And a new physical needs to be taken after April 15th of 2021. Last year with COVID, they had a little flexibility where you could fill out a separate thing. That is no longer happening. So as I've been communicating through Remind, you need a new physical taken after April 15th, 2021. If you have not received a physical this summer, we need to get that done here in the next 2 weeks. And again, turning that in ahead of time would be a huge, huge help. If you show up on Monday, the 9th, and you do not have a physical, I cannot let you on the court. Doesn't mean you can't be on the team eventually, but I cannot let you on the court until I have that physical. So please, please, please make sure that you have a physical in the next couple weeks if you have not already taken care of that this summer. In addition, the participation fee and expectation form and the South Lyon offsite transportation form, I need those as well. Many of you will turn those in next week or on the first day of practice, but by the end of the first week is kind of the requirement for that. If you head to slhslions.com and click on athletic forms and information, you'll see a page that looks like this, and I've starred the 3 forms that you need. You need the MHSAA athlete physical form, you need the participation fee and expectation form, and you need the offsite transportation form. Those are your big 3. Everything else on there is additional information. Those are the big 3 that you have to turn in. And again, that physical has to be in by the first day of practice. All right. Who do we play? A few shakeups here. Our league is always challenging, and that remains the same. We have Milford, Lakeland, South Lyon East, Walled Lake Central, Walled Lake Northern, Walled Lake Western, Waterford Mott, and Waterford Kettering. I don't know if the Waterford schools are going to be combined this year or separate. For girls, they were separate. Guys, they were together last year. We have not received word on that. But that's a challenging league with the Walled Lake schools. South Lyon East, we're always very competitive with, always very even. Milford is going to be better this year. We were competitive with them last year. And Lakeland's always very, very good. And in our region, Dexter, always challenging. East Lansing, always challenging. They won the region last year. Jackson, Okemos, back in our region. That's a top 3 school in the state. South Lyon East, we know. Walled Lake Central won our league the last couple years, and Walled Lake Western, I think, got the better of us last year. I'd have to double check. We were in a very, very challenging region. Out go some of the weaker schools, and in come Okemos. Again, top 3 in the state almost every single year. Walled Lake Central, that is probably going to be a top 10 team in the state. East and Western will be very, very good. East Lansing is always very good. Dexter is always very good. We have a challenge ahead of us if we want a shot to make it to states this year. So we've got plenty of work to do. All right. A few additional things here. Mainly more for our new players, but a few kind of things I want to toss your way even for our returning players. Attendance, please remember, you have to be present for all 6 class periods to participate. That means if you sleep in during first hour, you can't come to practice. You can't participate in match that day. Of course, if you have a prearranged doctor appointment, that is a separate thing. But if you miss a class, I get a notification and you cannot practice. If you do have something prearranged, please communicate with our athletic department by emailing Mr. Teagan at teaganm@slcs.us. Practice Monday through Friday for those first 3 weeks, as I said, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then the week leading into Labor Day, Monday through Thursday, and then all weeks once school begins, we will run practice from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Match days, our magic time is 2:45 if we are at home. We begin warm-ups by that time. If we're away, we'll be leaving by 2:45. You'll notice I say that the bus leaves at this time. I'm going to be asking you all a question soon, though, in the coming weeks as to whether or not you would like to resume busing or whether you would prefer to do transportation on our own like we did last year with COVID protocols. Players and parents communicated that some of them liked being able to transport themselves. It gets you home a little bit earlier rather than having to take the bus to and from the match, coming back South Lyon, then driving home from there. It also picks up a little bit of speed probably compared to the bus. And it keeps us a little bit safer rather than packing students onto a bus. At the same time, especially for our younger players, that becomes more challenging when they can't drive themselves. There are also safety concerns. And so we'll be reaching out soon to get a little bit of feedback on whether or not you would like buses this year. And we don't have to decide, varsity and JV, the exact same thing. Our varsity team may say, we prefer to transport ourselves. Most of us can do that. Whereas our JV will say, we prefer to take buses. We'll talk more about that soon, but the magic time there, 2:45 either way. Either you need to be leaving the school by 2:45 on your own or via the bus, depending on how we schedule that. More information on that to come. Tournaments, varsity tournaments will be sent out with the schedule. We have one JV tournament that we will make sure gets communicated as well. That should be popping up in the calendar as well. Speaking of the calendar, excuse me while I switch screens here. When you go to slhslions.com, here's how you can find our schedule. You'll head to fall, go down to tennis, boys varsity, boys JV. If you click on it, is old. Please, we're going to try and get that update. I'm working with our athletic department on that. It pulls you way back there. It doesn't have anything for this year. So instead of that, varsity and JV, what I want you to do is to head to fall, tennis, go to varsity. And even if you say, my player is new, he's going to be on JV, I still want you to pay attention to the schedule. JV will just be opposite sites most of the time, meaning varsity is home against Lakeland on the 31st. That means JV would be away against Lakeland on the 31st. On Thursday, the 2nd, varsity is away at South Lyon East. That means JV would be home against South Lyon East. So varsity and JV are going to be playing opposite sites unless we communicate otherwise. So pay attention to this schedule. You'll also notice that we have something like the Milford Invitational. That's going to be a varsity only. Ignore this. This shouldn't be on there. We'll make sure that this gets updated. And of course, every week I send out hey, here's what's coming up this week. But if you're looking for the schedule, go to the varsity schedule. And even if your son ends up playing JV, most of the match days are going to stay exactly the same. It's just going to be at the opposite site. Once again, varsity is at Walled Lake Northern. That means JV would be home against Walled Lake Northern. All right. Slide back over here. All right. What do I wear? What do I bring? Practice, make sure that we have appropriate athletic wear. Please make sure you have pockets in your shorts. That's more common with the girls than the guys not to have pockets, but every once in a while, a guy rolls out in shorts that don't have pockets. Not a great idea for tennis. Please make sure that you've got proper athletic wear. Make sure you've got pockets with shorts. Make sure you have layers. Yes, when we first get out there, it's going to be warm, but oftentimes, especially for early morning tournaments or into October when we start having our league and our regional tournaments, you're going to want some layers. So make sure you've got those in your tennis bags. Match uniforms. We'll have a white shirt ordered. We plan to keep the design the same as we have in previous years. That way you can reuse those. Although those get a little smucky, you might want to reorder one of those. They won't be super expensive. We try and keep those costs low. and we can provide blue shorts. Most people choose their own blue shorts. You may absolutely do that. And that way you make sure it fits you exactly as you want. They need to be a dark navy blue short, no stripes, no pattern, just solid navy blue. But when it's cold, you may wear South Lyon High School tennis sweats or anything like that from our Spirit Wear. More details on that to come. Once again, you may purchase your own shorts. If you would prefer them, we will happily provide those shorts to you. Tennis shoes, and like real tennis shoes. What do I mean by that? I intentionally brought one of my tennis shoes here. I know this will be a little tough to see. Real tennis shoes, you'll notice have rubber all the way around. Notice how high up that comes. It's because tennis players tend to drag their toe. If all you have is rubber up top and then it drops off, you're going to put a hole in the side of your shoe here, and you're going to end up with brand new shoes by the end of the season. And you don't want to be buying pair after pair after pair. So real tennis shoes are going to come up higher here to protect from that dragging of the foot. Make sure it has that. Make sure you have that. We'll talk about where to get those. And of course, layers, extra socks, rain gear, snacks, and water. Make sure all of that is in your tennis bag. All right. Last but not least here, practice rackets will be available for our new players. But if you're ready to get yourself a real racket, I recommend going to Tennis and Golf Company in Royal Oak. They will let you hit with tennis rackets and pick out one that works for you. They'll work with you, whether you are a beginner, mid-level, or whether you are planning on playing high varsity. I cannot recommend Tennis and Golf enough. Cayman Sports in Ann Arbor is another great place to go. They've got high-level rackets, highly recommended. Even if you are a newer player, but you know that tennis is something you're planning to commit to, that is where I would recommend going. You can also find pretty decent rackets at a place like Dick's. Their staff tends to not be as knowledgeable about tennis. That, of course, is not true for every salesperson, but by and large, they don't have tennis experts there. And so that's a great place to go if you are new to tennis, you want to get yourself a good solid racket, but it's not necessarily something where you want to hit with 5, 6, 7 different rackets. You can certainly go to something like Dick's. There's a big difference between a $20 and $30 racket and a $90 racket. Varsity players often will spend more than that. They'll be looking at the 110, 120, all the way up to maybe 150, 160. But you can find a really good racket for $80, $90 for our new players. Stay away from the $30 rackets. They're going to break on you, and they're going to vibrate a lot. They're going to hurt your wrist. They're going to hurt your elbow. If you have any concerns about purchasing a racket, saying, gosh, like my son is new to tennis, like $90 seems like a pretty big investment for something I don't know if he's going to love, please let me know. And I have some older rackets, but good rackets to at least get him started with. And then when he falls in love with tennis, we'll make sure we get him something even stronger. Shoes for tryouts. Make sure you've got good athletic shoes that support the ankle. You've got to have these court shoes, though, by our first match. They support the ankle really well. They're going to protect the toe. They're going to really protect your foot, and therefore that will protect your knees, which will protect your hips, which will protect your back. Make sure you've got good shoes. Match times are approximate 3:30 to 6:30, all depending on travel time. Obviously, we get going a little bit earlier when we play someone like South Lyon East. We get started a little bit later when we have to travel all the way to Waterford, or they travel to us. Length of the season, some people have been asking about that. We anticipate October 6th or 7th will be tennis regionals. If we qualify for states will be that following week. But both varsity and JV will plan to go through October 6th or 7th. I think the 6th is a Wednesday, the 7th is a Thursday. Regionals will almost guaranteed to be on one of those 2 days. So as we look at the calendar here, I cleared everything off my personal calendar here. Practice starts here. So we'll run practice morning on these days. So those will be our morning practices. We do have a Pinckney quad. This is for varsity on the 28th. That'll be 1 through 4 singles and 1 through 5 doubles. And then this week, we will have afternoon practice. We will have an afternoon match against Lakeland. Varsity will be home, JV will be away. September 1st, afternoon practice. Thursday, tennis at South Lyon East. Varsity is at East. JV will be home. Friday, we will have the day off as this then turns into Labor Day weekend. So we won't have practice on the Friday or the Monday of Labor Day. This is your first day of school. We'll have practice with then matches Wednesday, Thursday, practice Friday, and then a varsity tournament on that Saturday. So this then begins afternoon practice starting here. And certainly I won't do this all the way through, I promise. But afternoon practices begin. We'll just call it that. So practice on any of these blank days, and I'll of course send this out, weekly. I'll let you kind of know, like, hey, like for the week ahead, here's what we are looking at. Once again, we'll plan to run through the first full week in October. We may roll into the second if, in fact, we qualify for the state tournament. All right. But 6th or 7th will be our last day if we do not end up qualifying. So that's kind of the schedule that we are looking at. All right. If you have any additional questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach me at PruderJ@SLCS or message me through Remind that I can get to just as quickly, if probably not even faster than that. And I look forward to answering any and all questions that you may have. Once again, paperwork drop-off days. Monday and Thursday of next week. I'll get back to you on the time for Thursday. Monday, 9 to 9:45, and then 2 to 3 p.m. And hopefully those times will work for all of you there. And please remember, we've got to have our physical by that first day of practice. Those are the 3 forms that you need. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching the video. Please don't hesitate to reach out with questions, comments, concerns, and I look forward to seeing you bright and early, August 9th, 8 a.m. at the Southline High School tennis courts. Enjoy these last couple weeks. Get out, do some playing, and I look forward to getting to work pretty quickly. Take care.